Guilty Gear Exar, Rev 2. Guilty Gear Exar, Rev 2.
Damn, I forgot to sign up for VOD review. That's a tough one, Ob. That's a tough one. You know what I always say to that, and I say it not not sarcastically or not rudely ever. I always tell people when they're like, damn, VOD review, I completely forgot. How could I forget about VOD review? I'm like, alright, man. Yeah, I was gonna say, good thing it's bi-weekly. I always tell them, hey man, you know what's great about a bi-weekly VOD review? It's back in 2 weeks, buddy. I'll see you in 2 weeks. The thing I usually tell people is like, also I'm setting up, give me a second, Citrix. I'm just getting everything on screen. The thing I tell a lot of people is basically, is yes, like the joke is yes, it's bi-weekly, but also like, I say that because the way I would put it is, I do them bi-weekly already, so the last thing I want to do is be like, yeah man, that's fine, come through all the time, because I'm gonna be like, no man, you guys gotta do your part. You guys gotta take the 20 seconds to fill the form out. Post the YouTube link and that shit. Like after a certain point, it's the like you gotta look at the screen energy, you know. Like, bro, you gotta look at the screen, man. Alright, enough dilly-dallying. Enough dilly-dallying. I will see you in 2 weeks though, I don't think I have anything. The only exception is if I'm busy, then shit gets pushed around, but 2 weeks from now is what? Yeah, 2 weeks from now it'll be Saturday, because we haven't done Saturday in a while, so next VOD review should be, today's what, 28th? Next VOD review will be October 11th. I don't believe I have anything that weekend lined up at all. You just straight forgot? I'll just DM you next time. I only ping for it once. Again, I don't want to like talk about it, but I don't. Yeah, it is already October. I don't go crazy posting bi-weekly VOD reviews because these are not supposed to be like, hey, everybody come through, it's bi-weekly VOD review. Oh my god, it's bi-weekly VOD review. It's just like, oh man, if somebody like wants VOD review, they will post it. You know, I trust the process. I don't feel the need to force people to submit to these or remind everybody every other day that I'm just like, nah man, I was post it once. It's very, I wouldn't call it necessarily a casual thing, but it's I don't force it that hard if I'm gonna do it every 2 weeks. It's pretty chill. It's been a minute since navigate the Toho new truck. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Start the timer. This one's a tough one. Let's skip ahead a little bit so we skip the first like 6 minutes. You guys look for the ping. Next time you gotta do your homework, like you said, I'll DM you. When people say they forget, I usually DM them and say, hey, by the way, there's bi-weekly VOD review. It's the middle of the set. Well, we wouldn't watch 17 minutes anyway, so watch a little bit. One of the things I was gonna say is, I know. Let me get the notepad ready too to make sure I have some stuff to write down. Something for sure that is very tough for Johnny is, and it's tough for a lot of characters, but it's tough for Johnny for sure, is he's a very tall guy, and it means less so like the fishes, but more like other stuff hits him a lot. And he has a really high jump arc, which is kind of nice for him usually, but not in this matchup. There's something about his high jump arc that is, it kind of limits his ability to get on top of people. No burst. Right. Yeah, it's hard to burst air dash strings. It's tough. I think of all of his matchups, this is Johnny's most you have to win when you're on top of the matchup. I do not think there is one that is more like that than this. Let's confirm. Oh my god, we take those. Yeah, so this high jump arc is what's tough for him. Everything Dizzy's usually doing on the floor, she'll always recover and have something to do after. I also think, despite what you might think, I mean, this is okay. I do think building meter's fine. I don't think it's like a big deal. You do just want to be careful of always like jumping in the same direction versus Dizzy. She can get quite aggressive with her summons too, potentially. Knockdown. And then, it goes without saying, but certain setups in the corner from Dizzy, when performed correctly, leave no gaps. I'll talk about some surface level stuff that you can try to do, that I think is like nice to check Dizzy players to make sure they're doing things correctly. But if they are doing things correctly, it's tough, man. Oh, I forgot I should write that down too. Honestly, all things considered, because I mean, I gotta watch like 3 games or so before I get like a better idea. But you already do like a handful of the things I would suggest. The thing about dizzy zoning is there's not too many things to keep in mind. Like I said, a big part of it is that Johnny jumps really high, um, and is more grounded in his movement. And outside of his YYRC, nice YYRC, it is kind of tough to. Oof, that's tough. Oh, we should talk about that. Oh, it could have worked here, but maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. This is more like a Johnny idea than anything else, but it kind of mattered there. We might talk about it a little bit. Kind of interesting. It's something to do with like extending Johnny routes. This should work there, but it less the fact that you two hit there. There was a combo you could have done. Not that I'm like saying like, oh, you need more combos, but it might be nice to learn this concept. It's more like a concept with Johnny than anything else. If you're not already doing it, it's not a big thing. We'll just talk about it. Yeah, this is kind of how I would say to navigate the neutral. So far, there's a lot of the right idea. There's only maybe like one thing that I haven't seen that I would consider to try some more. But it has an answer. It's just Tay hasn't used it much in neutral, which is why I'm like, you could probably get away with this. I feel like Dizzy makes me feel like you need the heavy knockdowns or else you just lose. That might be true, honestly. I'm not even trying to sugarcoat it. Like, this is a tough one. As Johnny, this is a real tough one if you don't win when you touch Dizzy. It's pretty doable as you can see, you know. But you're on very, very, very thin ice in this matchup, IMO. Let's be Pima's Finer. That's fine. Whatever works. I'll watch like this one and maybe like one more. There's a couple things I'll mention, I guess, but like Tay hasn't really done them and they haven't come up, so they're not too important. But I figure I should mention them. I usually like to mention them with Dizzy. Hella volatile. Volatile is not even the word I would use. I think it's more just Johnny knows how he wins, and there's only one way he wins. And Dizzy can win like 3 different ways, but she's got to not mess up doing it. But I get what you mean. I mean, the momentum swings are very large because she gets so much. We'll talk about some of the stuff that just happened. So, there are some general truths, not like hard truths, but they're like generally true about Dizzy knockdowns in the middle of the screen. So, when I see Ice Fish, usually I'm not like that worried about it in the middle of the screen. It usually just means she's gonna like do something like this one time. It's not that bad depending on how they do it. Technically, there is a gap here if you instant block this fish into this. I don't know if it's there on regular block, but it's definitely there if you instant block it. That doesn't mean a whole lot for everybody, but it might actually mean that Johnny maybe backdashes through this. It's kind of hard to say. You might actually just be able to backdash that mix-up and then block the fish after. Which is fine, because that's just... you can't have that much when it comes to Dizzy, so... It's nice to have a thing to do. The other thing I was gonna say is... So this is like general truths about Dizzy. If you're swept by Dizzy mid-screen, it kind of depends on your knockdown timing though, right? Because that's how Dizzy works. She's gonna play her off of face down and face up knockdowns quite a bit. But for a lot of the characters, like if you don't have a really weird face down timing, either very fast or very slow, when you get swept by this into Fire Spear, the Fire Spear will not meet you. Dizzy has to meet you in some way. Whether it's 2D, which it tends to be, like they usually do 2D right after that because it reaches, or if they're closer, they might do something like 2K and then the Fire Spear hits and then something happens. What it usually means is you could actually check them with Blitz here, maybe one time, usually in like a set. Is if you know how they usually meet you before the fish hits, then you can do it. Because if you notice, like, this didn't... Let me see. This one might be meaty on Johnny. Let me take a look. Oh, this one's meaty on Johnny, yeah. It depends. Depends on the characters. Johnny wakes up a little too slow. But then there's knockdowns like this. This is the one I was kind of saying, where it's like, There are also knockdowns where she hits you first if she like holds her spear. It's all based on how you're waking up. If you can tell the spear isn't gonna reach you on your wake up, then it has to be a situation more like this. Where on this one you can see you're already waking up and the spear doesn't hit you, so Dizzy has to blitz you. Hits you. She usually, a lot of Dizzy players, if they're the ones hitting you, tend to go low because they assume that you're gonna try to blitz the spear like you just tried to. But you can actually blitz her, and it should let you try to do something depending on the timing of the ice spear. Sometimes I've had the ice spear just like go through me, I'm pretty sure. See, another situation. You don't have bar, so it doesn't matter, but I just want you to pay attention to the fact that when you get swept off Firefish, you can see, like, there are a lot of situations where Dizzy meaties you. And then the spear hits. You have to check what your character can do. None of this stuff is, like, one size fits all. You can check backdash and see how that works. You can check low blitz obviously will work. You can check and see if, off the low blitz, the spear will go through you when you get a punish. Like, it just depends on your character. But that's something that you have to pay attention to in the middle of the screen. Okazema like this, when they do it correctly, is like way more airtight. Ice Fish into TK Fire Bubble into Pop Bubble into this is like super annoying to get out of. A lot of the times I don't bother if I'm playing a character that can't do anything. Usually they pop the bubble, land, and then they do air dash low or air dash high, right? And there's like a sequence where right when they do the final air dash, if you instant block the fire bubble explosion, sometimes if you like IB it, you'll make a gap, and the third fish bite is blitzable, and Dizzy is close enough, and you'll get a proximity reject off of it. That is the only thing I ever find to get out of this setup, and that's still kind of counting on the Dizzy messing it up. Most of the time when this happens, I just like kind of do what you did. I kind of push them out. Nice. A little far. Nice. Jump. The spike. Yeah. Yeah, these are tough situations for Johnny. How much time do we have? We might just be good with that, obviously. I might talk about some stuff. Yeah, we'll just talk about some stuff. So, let me grab my stick as I talk about it. I didn't really notice too many, like, blaring things. I think you have the right idea. I do think you should consider a little bit more, how would I put it, like if the game registers that you're not really moving forward too much ever, or like just in general when you're getting zoned out by Dizzy, you tend to jump back a lot. And I get the idea, but jumping back for sure keeps you in the same spot. You don't really progress at all with that kind of like evasion through the zoning. Which only gets tough in the sense that like if you're that far, I think it's kind of hard to ever pull one over on Dizzy and essentially tell her that change the game capture. It's kind of hard to pull one over on Dizzy and be like, by the way, is YYRC, like when you're really far away. It just like doesn't work as well, I think. But let me check what I wrote down. Make sure I don't get off topic. Yeah, I said like jumping forward is pretty alright, especially because there's an option you can consider, right? So let's say, I gotta fix my bindings real quick. No, I hate when I restore default. Whatever, we'll fix it later. I just get rid of combo recipe. It's the most annoying one. Let me change my buttons real quick. There we go. Why is this actually taunt by default? What the heck? I thought type A had recording. There it is. Sorry about that. So let's say this is the case, right? So it's usually like this into this. This is Dizzy's go-to. This shit is her bread and butter. If this came out, this probably came out right behind it, right? One of the things I was gonna say is you tend to do this. You do something like this, which is kind of fine, but there's a couple things to consider. Like jumping back does technically hurt your tension pulse. Air dashing back or something like that tanks your tension pulse. See, like you'll start to pull up a negative penalty pretty like fast if all you do is walk forward and jump back like this. You might as well just walk forward and neutral jump, or if you're really confident, you can kind of like forward jump. The thing I was gonna say that you fail to consider is you can do stuff like this as Johnny. not that, sorry. I meant to like block and then you can do things like this. And that sounds like, why would you do that? But it's not actually as bad as you think to just kind of like hang out up here. And if you do it right, you kind of sneak through a lot of these projectiles. Your air stall is like not bad. It's okay is the way I would put it. It helps because if a Dizzy player changes their mindset and thinks, you know what, this guy always jumps back, and I don't want them to just jump back every time, they can do this, right? And this is what makes Dizzy like, this is what makes her scary. It's not that she zones you and that's like the end all be all of what's scary. It's the fact that if you, let's say you get complacent and you block this and then you block that, now she's right on top of you, right? Like this is the Dizzy effect. So you were good about not blocking on the ground. I think blocking this on the ground is a big part of why people get bullied by Dizzy so much sometimes. But the other thing I was going to say is, if you're always kind of jumping back like this, she just kind of lands on you with 6p, and it's hard to deal with. If you do something like this, you can tech into her a little bit more easily, like off of a scramble. If you just dodge the hit, like let's say you're down here and you do the tracking so that it tracks you well, once she's kind of like close to you, if she's close to you, Misfiner will help with delays. I guess what I'm getting at is like jumping is fine, but every now and then if you feel like she always ends up underneath you and it's not while you're blocking something, realize that you could hold Misfiner and then let it go and then press a button. Or hold, if you're at level 1, you can hold S-Finer a lot like that. And then release it and catch like the end lag of an anti-air or something that would normally catch you, right? That's something nice to consider if you're like, I have the lead, fuck you, Dizzy. Like, I don't want to approach, and that's fine. You can try that. The other thing I was gonna say is like, if you're at level 1, don't forget to try. Like, if you see them ever flub, is what I would call it. Like, if you ever see something like this randomly, like let's say they throw this into, I think you can do both of these, right? Can you not? Oh, you can't. Yeah. Okay. So it would be like if you see this plus this. This is a weird combo. Like this shouldn't really be like a combination that they get away with a lot of the times. Oh, it's K-Fish. All right. I think K-Fish is the one that goes farther. Yeah, there it is. So like, let's say this is a thing that happens. Keep in mind, like, you can hit these motherfuckers if you hit, like, if it's like certain ones like this. Get rid of him every now and then. Pay attention to when they throw fake shit at you. That includes, like, if they only ever do this and you're like in mid-range, do your Misfiner some more. You can do Misfiner and YRC it, I think, on the projectile. Like, right? There are little things where it's like, especially level 1 is nice to keep in mind. The hard part about using level 1 for Johnny in this matchup is that you kind of have to like Roman cancel it almost to like get rid of the thing and then try to take some initiative versus her, because obviously they usually tank the level 1 Finer, which is kind of obnoxious. But the same way a lot of the matchup can feel like, hey, why don't you play kind of patiently till you get something like this in your toolkit, like at your disposal, right? Similar to that, it's like on the ground at level 1, you can do a little bit of like a little fast. Like you can see the fish. Oh my god, you can see the fish and go, oh, fish is out, and then do, damn, you got this really late, like that. What a weird timing. It's like, there it is. Yeah, it's a weird timing. And you can get rid of it, and you can YRC it. Just do this timing where if you're misfinering, right after you misfiner, you got a Roman cancel. If you find that kind of hard, you can probably just do a macro. Like, you basically plink it. Like, Release right into Roman cancel is like the timing, more or less. It feels like that. You get your projectile, you'll dissipate the thingy they put on screen. She's usually got a good chunk of end lag on some of those, so it's nice to keep in mind. Don't go too crazy, but there are things you can do, right? Like, the existence of fishes should not necessarily mean you don't ever want to do things like this, right? Johnny, I think his leeway on stuff like this is you can press a button and get rid of fishes for 25 bar, right? That's not, I would never go so far as to say, like, oh my god, what a busted thing, I can't believe Johnny gets to do that. But it's more like, because Johnny doesn't get to experience the same benefits of the movement the rest of the cast has versus her zoning, I think it's nice that he doesn't usually need this bar for combos. So you get to use it on stuff like this, you get to use it on stuff like that, see? Right, like there's a bunch of little situations where you can try to sneak in. I was gonna say 6k YRC is also like not the worst thing ever. You can get in pretty decently. Don't focus on like, and it's crazy. You know it's bad when I'm telling people to do 6k YRC because I never tell people to do 6k YRC. But versus this character, sometimes you need that little extra movement and the slowdown. Because like, let's say you're here and you see this, you can dash up and throw, right? Like during this slowdown, you can press a low, right? Like let's say you're here, you can press a low and try to start fighting Dizzy, right? Or if they're like, oh, I'm gonna block because my summon, you can try to force a throw, right? Like you can do this and then throw, right? A lot of it is, if you can hang out like here a little versus Dizzy some more, it's better than hanging out here. You don't really want to stay here too much. I think only because your only game plan is this, right? And I think that's kind of tough when your game plan is just this. I usually tell people, like, you want to hang out here as Johnny, and it's a great range because you dash and you're in range of your far slash, and they're usually not when you do this. But I don't think that's really true versus Dizzy, funny enough. I think you have to hang out, like, if I was a Johnny player, I'd probably hang out more. I'd hang out here if I was, like, uncomfortable versus her. Like, if she's kind of got the lead in terms of resources and stuff, I probably would still hang out, like, right here. We're not quite at full screen, and even without moving, a well-timed YYRC should still make it to her if I do it, like, right at the end of the arc. Maybe not, though. But this is still the range I would hang at. It gives you a little bit of time to react to stuff. If I want to be a little bit more, like, in quotations, aggressive, I would do my 1,000-yard march through her Toho maze until I can get to about here. This is closer than I usually tell people to end up with Johnny, but it's close enough that this is scary. It's close enough that that's scary. It's close enough that, like, coins kind of reach or hit her summons easily. The thing I was gonna say is, like, when I was watching that set, Tay doesn't really use too much D-Fish. They use it sometimes, but not, like, all the time. And the thing about D-Fish is, like, D-Fish is what stops you from doing this all the time, among, like, a couple other things, right? Like, he didn't use much D-Fish, and he didn't use much 6P. Those are the things that stop, like, 6K loses to Dizzy 6P. But he didn't really use it. So it's one of those things you need to represent those tools and at least get him to rotate to different options in response. And if you see D-Fish, I usually try to, like, tell people, if you see D-Fish, she can't summon, like, certain other things on screen. Most notably, the obvious, like, elephant in the room. Oh, wrong button. The elephant in the room is, like, if this is out, she doesn't have big lasers anymore. She has Ice Spear and Fire Spears, sure, but she can't summon any fish-looking summons anymore. That's how it works. So, like, if you get this out, you can't ever get Ice Fish out until it's gone. Those are considered, like, the same type of projectile, but she can do this into, like, a Fire Spear. It's the spears and the fishes that are separated. But, like, if you do one of these, you can't do one of the Ice Spears, see? You won't get two spears at the time. She has to mix and match her zoning. It doesn't make her weak or anything like that, but it is nice to consider, at least when you see D-Fish on the screen. Like, if I see this, something, like, really important to consider is, like, I said, like, you kind of want to start to hang out a little bit closer to Dizzy sometimes. I think sometimes D-Fish is nice for that. because when I see D-fish, I'm like, well, you can't do laser fishes. So I kind of hang out like here versus her. Because I'll show you. It's like, let's say the Dizzy does something like this. Ah, shit. D-fish. And then like waits around. So like if I see this and I see D-fish, I'll probably move forward and kind of start blocking some more like that. D-fish, the way it works is like she wants you to swing into D-fish, but during D-fish, like the only things that she can throw out at you are like ice spears and stuff. Don't click that random link. That I usually keep it in mind. The tricky part is don't get greedy and do shit like this if you see D-spear. D-fish, I mean. But I do like to keep it in mind. Something like this is like not bad. Actually, no, don't do that. Don't do that on D-fish. I'm thinking of like a different situation. Don't do that. But yeah, hopefully this gives you like, does this give you a slight better idea of the neutral's not good in this matchup. It's hard to talk about it because it's not good. Even for a character like Johnny, it's not. But I do think a lot of it is responding to like if she's getting more aggressive and you're doing your jumps. The nice thing about Johnny's jump, if anything, is you can hold S Finer off of it sometimes. So if you run up, you're like 6p now, and then he holds this, and even Dizzy 6p will whiff. It'll mean that every now and then she kind of has to jump and try to air throw you, and at least now you have a reason to press a button on the way down. You don't just get 6p. Hanging out and like jumping forward helps a bit. Make sure you try to instant block some of the projectiles. If you're gonna chill at full screen versus Dizzy stuff, which I don't really think is like the most solid idea. A lot of times I think stuff like this is fine. Like you jump into this and you try to instant block it. She's a decent character to try to get this versus like IB. They're pretty consistent timings a lot of the time. I always struggle with the jump one. It's always very delayed. But it's nice to get like a jump IB and then a regular IB and stuff like that. Yeah, you don't get really much at this distance anyway. So a lot of the times you might as well, there it is, try to get some tension pulse going. It's pretty easy to record these, by the way, and like practice timing. A lot of Dizzies will do low firefish immediate ice spear. Is like a really common zoning tactic that a lot of them will do. They'll do this pattern a lot. This is usually the one I recommend people like have a game plan or some sort of like timing versus. So like you can do stuff like this as some characters and you'll get out. Some characters can like IB this hit and then like low profile or get through. Like if you do something like this, it might work. See, right? Like you kind of want like a general idea. Like something like this might let you try to sneak through. You do IB 6k. Let's see if I can get the timing on this. IB 6k. I think it might be late 6k. Yeah, it's a late 6k. You can do IB. Yeah, I guess I'll practice on a regular block. It doesn't really make a difference. I just like IBing it for the meter. See? And you get through. Alright, you get through to this distance. This distance is okay. It means like something like this is a lot scarier now. Right? I would say if I was you, I would try this some more. Right? You can even do, if you want to be greedy, you can even do like this. And then have a slowdown to work with. Right? Usually you want a game plan for that. I think it's important. I would say try this. You get through, but she's plus 49 after your 6k. That's only true if you don't realize that Johnny 6k is plus on whiff. Also, nothing is minus if you YRC. That's the rules of the game. I've never seen this shit minus in my life. That shit is frame advantage on a button. She's more plus, it's whatever. She's also far. She's just standing there, that's fine. You have a lot of meter, use this. But yeah, I think you need to be ready for that. You should jump a little bit more and mess with the timings. Johnny's jump arc is pretty bad at getting away with what other characters do. A lot of other characters you can do this and get out more consistently. Johnny's kind of a big guy. He doesn't do it as easily as others. There are 2 more summons that came out after 6k. That literally cannot happen. that literally cannot happen. You can get maybe 1 summon out. The rules of Dizzy literally do not allow that. I will do the fastest summon. Yeah, stop. I'm actually trying to teach people the game. She gets D-fish out, and that wins neutral. What do you mean? Just spend 25 and then spend 25 again. Johnny solves all his problems in this matchup with meter. Like, my point was, you have to have a little bit more concrete game plan when you're fighting her in neutral. I think it was mostly fine, but like I said, Tay doesn't use either 6P or much D-fish. You can get away with more 6K probably. Just for movement. You can also get away with the occasional misfinder plus cancel, and it's fine. Or button plus cancel is also very common. This is like one of the few matchups where, like, when you're kind of in this range, you might as well press a button and throw 2 coins. One for her, one for the fish. She gets to keep the change. The other thing I was going to say, this is not something you have to worry about a lot. But it is nice to consider. I want to say if you're ever here a lot of the times, you can usually extend your combos off of another P misfiner, off of like any standard dust loop. So like, let's say you're about to kill as Johnny, but you're not like quite there. Let's say you're like right here and you're like, oh man, this would have killed if I had more of a combo after this. You can usually hold this a little bit, or I think even immediate release is fine, I think, if it's a short combo. Let me see. This is like a nice thing to consider in your brain, because usually the only thing you have to assess is like, do I have another coin to spend? Right? And you can usually do a P misfiner off the JD, land and toss another coin, and then re-jump in a JD. It's a pretty standard like extension you get off of a lot of Johnny combos, especially like a shorter one like this. Right? And you can squeeze in hits. Certain hits that might have not killed might kill now. And you can always kind of do that, or do the really obvious thing of just super. There. Right? This is less of an idea for a specific situation, and more like if you're comfortable looking at your resources a little bit and going like, I have some extra coins to spare and I have some bar, like you can route into that kind of thing pretty reasonably. It's not too hard. It's like pretty accessible. It's nice because, like I said, it gives you like an extra chunk of damage. And you can do probably, like on a short combo, I'm no Johnny player, but I would say you could probably get like 2 of these, I think, a lot of the times. But the second one is kind of iffy. For sure, you tend to get at least 1 extension. But keep in mind that there is an extension that exists here. And like, if you're really lazy, like you really can just think of that as like free real estate in combos. You can do a right, and get like a lot of extra hits in. It's nice to keep in mind. It does come up in Johnny combos sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm totally cool. There's also a really big thing to note about like if it has risk at all. Oh, no wonder everything felt gross. Everything was too fast. I was gonna say, if they have risk, if they have like any risk, it starts to mean a lot more if you're in this situation. Because it means that you get that many more hits in a combo that was already like unscaled. So like, this doesn't kill normally, but now it extends and I kill. See? It's little shit like that that's kind of nice. I think you're already decently comfortable enough with the Johnny combo that like, if you have some change to spare and you're here, you can rip another one and dash and re-jump into JD again, and it works on a lot of, it works on like basically everybody. It's just a general combo extension that you get at the corner. And like I said, if you have a coin to spare and you're like, how do I go into super easily? You just do that, right? Right, because I think a lot of times as Johnny, a lot of Johnny players will do this and then Bacchus, and like, I had 50 bars, so let me end the round. And it's like, dude, if you kill, you don't have to Bacchus. As long as you have one more coin in the pocket back there, you just do this. And you get a super in the combos. Let me set the tech settings again. A couple of other things. Yeah. Does that give you hopefully at least some idea on stuff to try. I do think this matchup is a lot harder for Johnny than it is for Dizzy to get stuff done. Most of the neutral is a lot of just like walking around and waiting. But honest to God, the average Dizzy player is not usually that problematic. The jumps during neutral, yeah. Jumping is nice, but it's honestly probably less productive than just IBing a lot of the stuff on the ground if the Dizzy player is like just zoning you out and they never get aggressive off the zoning. You don't have like a reason to jump, in my opinion. At that point you might as well farm some meter gain. But if they are, then yes, you do kind of need to jump and air stall every now and then. Do stuff like jump, air stall, jumps YRC in place, etc. Right? Johnny's pretty decent at protecting himself off of his jump. That's like his one strength of his jump, is being able to do things like that. Otherwise, having a jump arc like this is garbage versus Dizzy. It's not a good thing. It is a very bad thing to have a high jump arc versus Dizzy. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Hopefully that gives you, like I said, hopefully that gives you some ideas on stuff to try. That matchup is pretty tough for Johnny until you put all the pieces together, and then you have like a decent idea on like the simplicity of the matchup, and you just realize that it's very easy for her to get out of your win condition. I always forget to mute that. Listen. I think Gummy was 2, yeah. How you can use your meter. Right on time. I look at the timer a lot while I'm talking to try to like keep it as concise as possible. Yeah, I didn't summarize. Your advice was like use your jumps forward, air stall if she's chasing you down off of summons. Use 6k until they represent shit that that is beating it, like 6p or some more firefish. You fell asleep and now you're awake. Cool. I'm wondering if I could use dry meter and burst better. Just in general, I feel like using meter. Hey, who'd you end up playing in 2xKO, Yosaki? That game's pretty fun. I haven't played it like the last 2 days because I've been playing Exert, but it's pretty fun. I probably will play just Silk Song though. I've had my initial fill of 2x. Yasuo Vi. I gave up on that team. I play Yasuo Echo now. Shit is just the same team but better. I am 1/3 of the player base. I'm okay with that. I didn't want to say I didn't play a game like 2xKO and ever think to myself, I can't wait to not be like 1/3 of the player base. Like, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm gonna be honest. I would play Vi if I actually just found her more enjoyable, but she's not. The state of the game is not enjoyable when I play Vi. I do not appreciate making contact, getting push blocked out, and going, alright, well, I guess I'll see you in 10 more seconds. It's just not fun. But, doing the mix-up's pretty fun. I learned how to do the Cloud 805 freestyle setup. It's pretty easy once you know it. It's pretty cheap once you know it, too. But yeah. The special snowflake shit, that's not for me. The only thing I care about is if I like the characters, and I played Echo before anyway, so I might as well embrace it now that he's a fucker. 1% Darius Alawi Giga Chads. I don't know if that's that much of a Giga Chad. If you told me you play that team on double assists, I would not call that Giga Chad. That's not Giga Chad energy, that's for sure. Alright. That was a short one, we can watch all of it. Using your meter effectively. Burst is an easy one versus this character. We'll talk about it. Yeah, this is a tough matchup to accidentally Resho, and Resho is pretty not great in this matchup if you accidentally press it. He's got a very big crouching jab and it doesn't feel great to fight. Scroll set's fine. You can teleport. Yeah, get some offense. That kind of thing's tricky to be used to when your scroll is out. Punish, but he Roman cancels. That's a combo, but he decides not to Roman cancel it. No card. Badman is, in all honesty, I know I said that like throwing card is fine, but I'm not gonna lie, I tend to set a lot versus Badman. Kind of like all Bedman players. It's not even like a KB Nova thing. It's not like a Avery thing. It's like, it's kind of okay to set versus a lot of the Bedmans, because a lot of Bedman's like options that he picks by default are not usually things that you're scared of. It's kind of weird to explain, but essentially, because most Bedmen are probably going to jump back or forward dash and try to armor through things, you actually can get quite greedy versus them. That blitz isn't necessarily bad. He can go high or low there, so it's like pretty chill. But what I was saying is you can actually set quite a bit. Sometimes I'll do 5H set, K set, and then cling to them. And sometimes I'll do 5H jump cancel into P set and grab the P scrolls. Bedman don't usually tend to like press buttons aggressively out of block. They do it like right after they up back into try dashes, but they don't usually immediately press a button out of block. He doesn't have great buttons out of block a lot of the times, or at least they don't usually assume it's a thing they get to do. Nice pickup. You can't do stomp there or it knocks Bedman down. Yeah, like even stuff like dash wire C doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it loses to people dashing like as answer, but the problem is like the Bedman never gets what they want out of doing dash wire C. Lands on you, nice anti. Boom, boom. This is where it's easy to get stuck in the Bedman vortex. If you block an angled task A, it gives Bedman very easy ability to just like hoe you out like that. He just kind of waits around, does a seismo, then he jump cancels seismo, and you block the projectile, he try dashes at you, or holds the try dash and then does it delayed. That's plus 10 or like 11 or something like that. You can't mess with that. Unless you blitzed it, it gives you some breathing room to try stuff. But it still depends. It's an overhead. Card wire C, that's fine. I guess one thing I'll say is like I don't really use much of my, I don't really faultless defense Bedman too much, because depending on how they do their offense, it doesn't really benefit me to faultless defense. It doesn't. Faultless defense is a mechanic that helps you if the character has to really like walk in or run in or jump in again because of it. But I find that Bedman adjusts decently well versus faultless defense. He either just calls his summon one button earlier, or he or he just try dashes earlier, and both of which are about the same. They don't really change much. Faultless defense doesn't really help too much there. But I guess what I'm getting at is like I tend to have a lot of meter in this matchup as answer because I almost never faultless defense. I feel like it's very rare that I faultless defense Bedman unless I'm getting chipped out to death. But yeah, we'll talk about a couple things. Most of the meter usage, from what I could tell, felt like it was a lot. We'll kind of go back and skim some of it because it's a short set. It seems like most of the meter usage whenever I was seeing it was like card wire C, which is fine. You kind of need a card wire C. But there was like a pretty good chunk that went into just faultless defensing at a certain point. Like once you started blocking, like here, you start losing like quite a bit of your meter. You lose about like 25 bar every now and then to just faultless defensing. And like if you want to think about it in the answer economy, that's another card YRC. And I don't mean that jokingly or as a meme. I mean that quite seriously. Like you could have 75 bar right now instead of 25, and that's a pretty big difference. It's being able to do a card YRC and still being able to do a mix up because you have another 50 bar. Same again, like faultless defense, kind of like draining some of your meter. There are some matchups where faultless defense is either not as necessary or not as effective, or it needs to be applied in specific ways. And that has a lot to do with it. Also guaranteed burst point. You always want to burst rising bed slam. So you get the hit. One of the other things, and like I do this consciously, is I don't really parry YRC like that much, so you won't see me. You won't usually see me do it like that much, and or dead angle, and so I usually have a lot of meter in that regard. I'm not saying not to do those things. If those things are things that are helping you play the game more, that's fine. But you'll probably notice, like when you're watching me play answer, I don't really dead angle or parry YRC like very much, because they just cost money, and I'm kind of stingy. But they're good options. It's not like they're bad options. They just cost money. I don't parry YRC a lot. I don't think it leads to enough. The thing about parry YRC is like you're kind of like in the same situation. You just didn't block a meaty. That's why I don't parry YRC much. If you jump install it, it's okay. If you jump install it in some matchups, it's very good. All right, let me look at how much meter this costed. This will be like the last thing we watch. It's like you're good. Faultless defense when you jump a little bit. Faultless defense again, and you lose all your meter. The other thing is like instant blocking. Not that I'm saying like, oh, just instant block, but another reason I'll usually have a lot of meter in this matchup is I tend to instant block Bedman. And I'll explain why. Like, there's a reason I instant block Bedman a lot, and it's not just like a oh ho 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 I'm grinding meter. It's like there's a reason to try to instant block most, if not like everything that Bedman does. Let me switch the capture. Let's see. Where's answer? Yeah, I would say most of it seemed fine. Like I said, it seemed like if I had to guess. So I'll talk about burst first. Because Bedman has two very distinct burst points, and you will probably get one of them before the end of a round. It's very rare that Bedman does not give you your burst if you know the two burst points he gives. If Bedman hits you with this is a burst point. Anytime he task A's like this, as the Beyblade is happening, you don't even have to do it preemptively. You can see the Beyblade. Like, you can go, oh, it hit me, and then burst it. This is a pretty level 1 like burst. This one is like not as high value because his Okazeme after that isn't that strong anyway, so it's like not that big a deal. You know, you can IB then jump over before he calls the replay, but sometimes you can't. I'll talk about it, but you should always be able to do that. It depends on the replay. What makes a burst high value? A burst to me that's high value is a burst that, one, obviously hit the person, but two, specifically was a burst that got you out of a bad situation that was coming. The way I would put it is, I'll give you an example. This is just general advice, but I could burst this, and I almost always burst this versus Bedman, because he gives me my burst back all the time. Like, he just does such long, short damage combos, you always get it back. But that's not that high value, because if I'm Bedman and I do this, and I get a knockdown off of this, that's the Okazeme. It's just like one spinner into like a pretty reactable high-low type of situation. Like, if you know how this Okazeme works, it's not that threatening. However, if you eat something like, I think it's this. How do I launch you? Is it actually? Let me try 5H. Oh. Oh, it's so weird to do 5H on him. Right, so anytime you end up, let's say they do a combo that ends with bed slam, like this. This situation is a lot worse than the other one. any situation where they get to do like button, bed slam, launch you or whatever, right? Like if they do that doesn't launch, dude. Bedman's so bad. Oh, you have to do 2 hits of it, then pulls them in, right? I see. Right, like any situation where Bedman can kind of end with the bed slam like this is a higher value burst in quotations because the situation that precedes is a lot better for Bedman. This replay is a lot better on average for Bedman in most matchups than the other replay. It does a lot more for him. Right? So like while both of these are burstable, like if I get hit by this, when he's rising during the bed slam, in other words, right here, you can burst every time and you always get it. But that's what I mean. I'll say low value versus high value burst because it's usually in reference to whatever you escaped, right? Assuming you hadn't bursted. It's whatever situation was coming after. A higher value burst to me is a burst that escapes like a much better situation, right? I'll give a Baiken example too. If Baiken knocks you down with say like Rokon Sogi and you burst it, and even if the burst works, I'm like, that's cool, that's good. Like a burst that hits is fine. But the situation, the Okizeme she gets after Rokon Sogi, the running slash knockdown is not that good. If she does a combo and she does corner carry with the uppercut move, Kuchinashi, whatever she ends that in is probably pretty close to the corner with way better frame advantage and Tatami Okizeme. So it's way worse to end up at the end of that combo than the Rokon Sogi one, and the uppercut is burstable on reaction. So it's like there are certain situations that are high value versus low value. Like another example I'll give is like the situation after or like there's bursts that are high value because you take an early burst point when you would take a lot of damage. Like if you get hit by a Shinken from Kum and the very next Shinken they do is like a little too deep and you can see it and you can burst that's worth bursting because that combo is going to do like half your health. So it's like you should burst that, you know. It just means how much did it get you out of? Did it get you out of a bad situation? Did it get you out of a lot of damage? Did it do both? You know, like versus like you could burst 1 2 3 sweep, but if you know all they get is 1 2 3 sweep, it's not really worth bursting. You might as well wait for a better burst. That's all relative, but that's the idea. Anyway, I was saying a lot of your meter gain went to faultless defense. I usually tend to like as I'm blocking Bedman. You already talked about it, but yeah, the idea is like if he throws one of these, wrong one, one punch. He does this, and then he does whatever, and he calls his replay. Let me do an actual block streak. I'll do like if he knocks you down. So like if he does 1 2 3 spinner, and he knocks you down, and then let me set the CPU correctly. There we go. Wrong summon. And then he walks back and he does doom. Wait, what? I have to first hit. Alright. Anytime that you expect a Bedman summon, you can kind of like instant block it and then go from there, right? That's like the idea is you can kind of IB, and then you're like, oh, he always does it on the first hit of 5H. Let me instant block that hit. Oh, wait, I forget I need to get hit by this. You might say, like, boom, boom, let me instant block. Oh, my God. Let me just do it like this. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense. All right. No, I mixed myself. I didn't meet properly. There you go. All right, he always does it on the first hit. This is helpful when you fight Bedman that are not as good at their timings on their summons. One thing to keep in mind is like I'll usually, so if I'm really confident, Answer's a little unique, and I'll buffer a super jump out like that. Because you just go the distance. Like you just go mad far off your super jump. Which is pretty nice. So sometimes I'll fish for this. Something important to consider is like while this is nice to jump out of free pressure resets, if you notice Bedman is already actionable. Never get greedy just because you did this. There might be like a context or two where you can try it like this, Like if you do something like this, you can try it, and it might be a punish. But I'm not really like a big fan of that because replays don't tend to have much much end lag anyway. So like as answer, if I did jump out, like let's say I get this instant block, and I jump out, I usually jump into set like that is what I do. But what I'm getting at is like I don't really instant block bedman, or sorry, I don't really faultless defense bedman too much. Because I'd rather instant block him, but two, like even if you push him out, like let's say you're here, and you do this. Oh, I keep doing that really late. Right? Let's say you're in this situation as the... Actually, let me show it. I can quite literally show it like this. Let's say you get knocked down by Bedman, and he does like a block string after, right? And you decide you're going to faultless defense after. You're like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. He can see that, do 3H, and then look at what happens, right? Oh, I meant to frame kill, but you can't frame kill with that. See? The idea is like this doesn't actually help as much as you think because Bedman will probably just either jump cancel or special cancel right there. Like as they recognize that they're getting pushed out, and it doesn't really solve your problems the other ways that it normally does. Faultless defense is good for people like Leo and Soul for sure. It's pretty good against Sin. Like certain characters cannot get back in as easily, especially off of the fact that faultless defense gives you a little bit of extra block stun when you do it, as opposed to regularly blocking that option. So you might think like, well, what if I 6P or do whatever? Well, you might actually not be able to do that easily here because you actually do have extra block stun after blocking whatever you just blocked. Yeah, I mean, it's a good fear response. It's not a bad mindset to have. It works against most of the cast. Bedman just tends to be a character. Characters like Bedman, there's a couple characters that don't care about faultless defense like that much. Let me see. Most of these guys do. Zato doesn't care that much about faultless defense if they know what they're doing. Let me see. Faust cares, but is good versus faultless defense, which is why I don't use it that much versus him. Axel doesn't obviously care if you faultless defense him. Venom is kind of hard to faultless defense if they know what they're doing. Slayer is also kind of like Bedman, where he gets to respond to the faultless defense kind of fast, so it's not as good as you would think. Eno's pretty good to faultless versus. Bedman doesn't care as much. If Ram is using her swords, Ram doesn't really care that much about faultless defense. Elfelt, if she's in shotgun, doesn't really care about faultless defense that much. I think that's mostly it. I think everybody else faultless defense more or less works how it should. Jam is also... No, Jam cares. She has to change her block strings. Raven doesn't really care about faultless defense that much. Dizzy kind of cares about faultless defense, but not that much. You probably just noticed the trend that like a lot of the characters with options, either like Bedmans where they control space like this, or just good neutral in general, don't care about faultless defense. People that stay on top of you very easily and don't mind the pushback and can't adjust for the can adjust for the pushback don't care, right? Because off of that button, he can summon, he can do like a lot of things. But what I'm getting at is like, it does cost bar. This does cost bar, and it costs more than you might think. Like, you lose quite a bit of, let's say I do like a block string now that I have, let me see. Well, we can show it, I think, if I put the tension gauge at like not full, and I do block string, let me see. So like, let's say you're in a block string, and you block this out, right? You lose... Look at how much bar you lost, right? You lose about like 1.5 bar off of like a string that doesn't really do like too much because you block this and then he try dashes anyway, right? It adds up faster than you would think when you're faultless defensing things. Again, it's good. It is good because let's say somebody always does 1, 2, 3, then the third hit misses, and that's what makes faultless defense good. But faultless defense gets bad as soon as people understand how to adjust the string to deal with it, and it's like, even after you block that, you're not that in that good of a spot because he can either land and do like the usual delays, right? Like Bedman can reach you here with this still. So faultless defense doesn't really accomplish the goal you want it to. Usually what faultless defense boils down to, in all honesty, is one of two things. When people use it, you either are building the space that you need to get out. So characters like Milia, Dizzy, Elfelt, characters with high super arc trajectories like this. Answer's not really one of them because he always kind of comes back down really fast. He just has one air dash, but all those other characters have good ways of escaping the corner. They'll push you out, they'll super jump, and they'll get out like that. But the other thing is, like, faultless defense is good for producing whiffs. So, like, if this guy does this, I can do stuff like... And that is off of the backbone of me forcing a whiff. At its core, you kind of want to think of faultless defense as that. At the beginning, it's nice to just think of it as a way to build space and get people off of you immediately. But in reality, faultless defense, at least the way that you'll probably see me and a lot of other experienced people use it, is for stuff like this. It's for producing a whiff, right? It's hard to react to faultless defense if you're not paying a lot of attention. But it's also pretty easy to do strings. Like I was saying, like what if they do a different string, right? What if they press 3H right here? Well, this block string works anyway. You just have to adjust it, I think, a little bit. Let me see. Because that should work on like regular block too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, see? You see how that didn't matter? Like whether I got pushed out or whether this was a regular block. Some characters will do things like this. Like you'll just pick a string that works no matter what. See? Like this string works on faultless defense and doesn't whiff as Bedman. And so does this. They're the exact same buttons. They're the exact same buttons and they both cover, right? There's no whiff produced. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. A lot of meter does go into faultless defensing if you always do it. Again, I faultless defense. It's important. I do it too. But it's just nice to keep in mind that it costs meter. And it incentivizes you to not like always use it as you get comfortable with it. You just tend to notice it more maybe on a character like Answer because usually he needs this a lot. Answer needs this a lot and he needs stuff like this every now and then. So I usually tend to hoard my meter for stuff like that if I can help it. I will faultless defense, blitz, or do whatever if I feel like I need to. But I tend to try to avoid it if I don't feel like I need to, is what it boils down to. That's why you don't see me use those options much. As far as, like I said, as far as bursting goes, always burst this. But if you don't want to burst that, then burst the rising hit of this. That's all you need to know about Bedman burst points. Every Bedman combo needs to involve one of those. There are versions of the combos that are a little bit safer. Like sometimes they'll launch you and then they'll do a couple JPs and they'll do a bed slam down, which is not easily burstable. And then they'll do a bunch of stuff and they'll end their combo with this. Like this is this is like an inevitability. Like he's either got to do this or bed slam when he ends his combos to have really potent options afterwards. Otherwise, he has to do something like this all the time, which you might encounter. Like, oh, I'm going to wait for him to do this so I can burst it. And they'll start doing this instead. It's pretty common. But this situation is tough for a Bedman player, especially versus Answer in the matchup. Because if he does something like this, and then he does that, these tri-dashes never catch Bedman, or never catch Answer's backdash. This angle, like once you're here, Bedman quite literally cannot catch Answer's backdash the way it works. It goes too far. It's invulnerable too long and goes too far off of that knockdown. He like basically cannot chase it. So as long as you get swept by him and you have room to go back into, an Answer backdash will always kind of get out here. So even when he's not baiting your burst, or sorry, even when he's not giving you the good burst point, you're still in a good spot because you just wait and then backdash here. Oh, it's been a minute. Hold on. I don't remember my reversal timings. Right. How do I approach neutral versus KB Nova? You're watching my VOD. It seems like it's actually good for you. I tend to put these out. KB Nova, at least early on, always forgets how good it is to give answer space, and I'll usually do something like if he's just determined to toss like one of these out, I'll go to here and I'll use one of these to make contact. KB Nova's bad at this matchup once you make contact as answer. I do a lot of like 5H set, 5H jump cancel forward dash set. Things like this are just pretty good at covering a lot of what Bedman tends to autopilot. I don't think that they're things that you should always do versus Bedman players. It's just Bedman players don't know the matchup, and those things tend to beat what they do. But I kind of hang out here. Anytime he throws one of these, you can parry to a scroll, and the trajectory on the way back tends to miss if you already have them out. Sometimes you're like on a scroll already, and you kind of have to parry from the scroll, and that's fine. Or if you don't want to interact with anything, then you can see it and go up like that, and then dodge it twice like that. See? There's a lot of like little movement tricks to getting around his head. The task A is kind of like what determines the pacing of the matchup a lot of the times, because it's what he uses to control that entire chunk of the screen like that. And what he wants is for you to block it, so you just spend a lot of time navigating around it, either countering it and getting on top of him. You need to learn to use... I mean, using scroll H for extended movement, you just get used to it. Like, you don't need it. It's just like if you it's another way to move around on the scrolls, right? Like, if something is covering this angle and I can't pick that angle to get to it, then I can do this and I'll still get to it. But I'll do it from a different trajectory, so the shit that was on screen isn't hitting me, right? A good example is this fireball. Like, if I try to dash diagonally, I will get clipped a lot of the time if I'm not careful, but I will basically never get clipped if I do that. He can angle it different ways, so you kind of have to pay attention to the angle it's coming back, because if Bedman does if he does this and then he jumps again, then the trajectory is like different for it, because he pulls the head a little bit based on where he goes. So like if he does that toss, my bad, if he does that toss and you try to do this, you get duffed a lot by it because he pulls the head up a lot when he does that. But you tend to not get hit if you do this, right? But it's just as simple as it sounds. Like, I keep scrolls up a lot. I try my best to navigate around task A. If he keeps trying to just use task A, I try to sneak in one of these so that if he ever task A's, like, kind of like at a bad time, I'll try to call my summon as he's on the way down. I need to remember to call it on the way down, like this, and I'll hit him. Not because it's a punish, but a lot of the times because he's caught off guard. I'm almost positive that's not a punish. He tends to recover like decently fast off of this. But ideally, I want to get a card out versus Bedman eventually and get something like this. But I don't... This is a... I think I've told you before. I've definitely told Thumbtack. This is a don't throw card matchup. Like, most of the time, don't do this in neutral. Unless you're wire seeing it like this. Don't just raw throw card. There's one very important reason you never want to throw card versus Bedman. It's that card is in a counter hit state. You never want to just like be like, oh, why not, I'll just do card. Eventually it's nice because, like I said, you get stuff like this potentially. Like if you see him super jump and you're like chilling over here, you might as well like rip a card and see if you can snipe it, right? I want a card under Bedman because it's really good for helping with the projectile zoning. But the reason you don't want to get lazy is because of this. Card, oh my god. Card is counter hit state, so let me see if I can save a replay. You got killed by that? Yeah, so this move reaches basically full screen. It technically doesn't reach full screen. It's like just short of it. But it doesn't matter because because you have an extended hurt box on your card. So essentially this hits full screen if you're picking this option. If you card and you do this, Bedman will get a combo. Maybe not from full screen if I had to guess, but from almost full screen, he should get a combo from this on counter hit. Because a lot of Bedmans press this button and then buffer a jump off of it anyway. So it looks kind of like this for the Bedman player. If you're like back here and you do this, you go, oh, I got a hit, and you try dash over, right? Like a lot of Bedman players will just do this anyway. And there's a confirm there, but I don't know the timing for it. But the idea is like this only happens if you throw a card. If you summon a scroll, you never get. Oh, my bad. I was gonna say, why did that happen? It's because the settings are set to counter hit. If you set a scroll, you're never counter hit state ever. So even when he hits you with these, they never pop you up. This is why I just set scrolls a lot in the matchup instead. Because even if I'm wrong and I get hit in the face, it doesn't actually matter that much. So while I want this out on screen, it's kind of hard to do it. Usually a lot of it for me is trying to figure out when KB Nova finally seems like he's not going to press that option, and I'll get one of those out. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm good. Like, now I can chill out a little bit more, and when I see KB Nova jump and I'm on the ground, I'll try to summon my card. And again, like, a lot of the times, the zoning is not, like, that bad, because you can usually jump, to one of these and parry, and KB Nova's not good at that situation yet. Even though he can press the button first, he never does. He just doesn't know. So it, like, never comes up. But yeah, that's basically it. Not a lot of advice to give, in all honesty, but it's, like, pretty tangible advice, at least. Learn to burst, like, just those two things, mostly, versus Bedman. Just this or this. Either one is fine, but usually the Bed Slam gets you out of a worse situation compared to the spinner. But either burst is fine. A lot of the times, if the Bedman gets a hit at, like, round start or close to round start, and they do the Beyblade, I almost always burst. Because I'm gonna get it back. Bedman kills you very slowly, off of his mix-ups. Even when they're hitting, that you're gonna get your burst back. It's very, very likely you'll get it back, even as answer. And then if you're worried about your meter usage, you gotta tone down how much you rely on faultless defense. It does technically also tank your tension pulse a little bit, but that's only in relation to how long you're holding it. So it's like, it's not like Roman cancel, where Roman cancel is like a static time that and it's a static time that you're in penalty, and it resets. It's not additive, if I'm not mistaken. Because if it was additive, I would notice by now. But yeah, hopefully that gives you like a good idea. Those two things are big, and then if you're worried about neutral versus Bedman in general, focus on setting scrolls and parrying task A into offense. If he blocks parry in the air off of like the projectile, I think answer's plus, but I've never checked, honestly. But you might be plus, like you might be plus enough to jab every time. A lot of the times they block it on the ground and they should press a button, but they never do. So I just press jab and I win. But yeah, something to keep in mind. And even if they start pressing a button, if you parry, you just start backdashing as answer. You do one of two things. You backdash, or if you think they're really, really slow to react, you can do forward jump set. But that's pretty damn greedy. A lot of the times you're supposed to like backdash jump set versus people that know they can mash versus the counter. Because basically, you counter, you land on them, you backdash, they whiff, and you jump, and then you get a set like that. A lot of people will see you jump and go anti-air and set a scroll. Yeah, that's kind of like the gist of it. Let's say those two things are important. Bedman's a pretty easy character to burst for me. There's a couple characters in the game that are just easy to burst. You burst them in the same spot like every time, and you don't have to think about it. The wheel has already been invented. There is no reason to reinvent that wheel. Alright, let me start loading up the next one, and then we're on schedule. We have like the 5 minutes. I'll probably use the restroom real quick during this time, and then let me double check that person is here. Just burst Daro, bro, burst multiple things on her, man. Like, there's so many things to burst. There's so many things to burst on Ram. It's not even Daro. Daro's just like the low-hanging fruit, and it's still a good burst point. Anyway, let me where you at the 320 slot person. Let's see where they're at. While I also go use the restroom. I'll be right back. We have about 5 minutes before the next one starts anyway.
アンサーです。どうも。はは、昨日のクリケットご覧になりましたか？いやー、タイムリーな事件でしたね。ええ、暴走列車でしたら、はい、振り落とされても、頑丈ですから。まあ、稀なケースですからね。はい、はい、必ずお力になれるかと存じます。ありがとうございました。それでは。お世話になっておりますアンサーです。はい、今朝も暑い日が続きますね。あ、いえ、5分で済む話ですので、ぜひ。おっしゃる通りです。厳しくしつけておきます。まあ、稀なケースですからね。はい、はい。では、社長様にもよろしくお伝えください。それでは。ご無沙汰しておりますアンサーです。その説はお世話になりました。近くまで来ましたのでご挨拶をと思いまして。なるほど、考えられますね。おっしゃる通りです。厳しくしつけておきます。はい、ではいずれまた改めて飲みの席でも。はい、失礼いたします。あ、はい、アンサーです。どうも。はは、昨日のクリケットご覧になりましたか？いやー、タイムリーな事件でしたね。そうですね、勉強になります。はあ、書きつもに。わかりました。こちらで請け負います。あいみつの件ですが、心当たりもありますので。はい、そうですか。いえ、必ずお伺いいたします。はい、よろしくお願いいたします。あ、どうもアンサーです。本日はお忙しいところ貴重なお時間をいただきありがとうございます。早速な話題で恐縮ですが、例の件に関してですね。こちらもまさかとは思いましたが、感電ですか？はい、ではいずれまた改めて飲みの席でも。はい、失礼いたします。あ、おはようございます。早くからご連絡差し上げて申し訳ございません。アンサーです。お忙しいところ恐縮ですが、ミスター武者の工事はおられますでしょうか？はい。さようでございますね。あ、少々お待ちください。キャッチが入りまして。あ、おはようございます。早くからご連絡差し上げて申し訳ございません。アンサーです。お忙しいところ恐縮ですが、ミスター武者の工事はおられますでしょうか？はい。間もなくかと。その件は対処いたしましたが。はい。
Alright, there we go. Let me get that timer started.
はい、早速取り掛かりたいと思います。
You can just type if you're in chat, by the way. I usually message people on Discord because it's one of those, like, if somebody hasn't been here for VOD review, even though I write the instructions out on the Google form, I'm like, you know, even though the instructions explain how this works, I should message them on Discord just in case and say, hey, where are you at? Alright, we'll skip like halfway through. I'm a big fan of skipping about halfway through sets. It goes without saying, usually by now people have settled in. Let me see if there was any... Hold your ground better. Respect an eternal God. That was a good escape. Nice. There's a couple things in this matchup. This matchup is actually pretty chill for Dizzy in the neutral, despite what it might seem. Soul's pretty fast, but once you set up a good pattern, it is a little tough for Soul to consistently get through. Like, he can try his hardest, but a very good zoning pattern, like if you get the pattern set up kind of correctly, where like the bubble pops as you set the next thing, and the next thing hits, and then you set another bubble, and then you set a D-fish, like that kind of pattern is pretty frustrating for Soul to get around. He can't really like actually sneak through it even if he's fast. It's just hard to get it set up initially. Nice throw. Set, fire bubble, pop, air dash, yeah. This conversion's awkward. I want to say you're supposed to see it and press close slash like right away. I don't think you can get 6H anymore on this hit, but I could be wrong. But yeah, when people get hit by the JS that pops the bubble here, you air dash and it gets the explosion. You can react and convert if he gets hit. Well, I'm saying like if they got hit later, you can get a fatty conversion. You can get like charge 6H. But he gets hit by like the initial hit kind of early. But you should still be able to get a close slash maybe off that. It's kind of hard to tell. For sure, like a JP would have hit. Yeah, you can get a charge 6H on some of those hits. It depends when they get hit. 4S probably doesn't reach. Just depends. Like I said, depends on how they get hit. Knockdown, ice fish, TK bubble, boom. Get hit by the bubble. Like that's a 4S situation. Yeah, that's a you rip 4S as soon as they explode. Like you didn't even. Yeah, honestly, I would like just always trust 4S here. 5K is alright, but 4S is like pretty fast to come out. New ID JD land. Ah, that makes sense. You do one hit JD charge success. Or just regular 6H. Mix out. I'm noticing there's definitely like missing. No, he's right. They're right. IDJD would work there. It should work there. I completely forgot because I'm used to seeing both hits kind of like mess up strings, but you could probably just one hit there and get like a good follow up. If I had to guess. If I had to guess. All right, I'm writing some stuff down on the side. We'll watch a couple games. Talk about it after. Knockdown. What's the Oki laser finish? There is like a thing you haven't been messing with as much. That is it's a really common zoning pattern. I was just talking about it earlier during somebody else's review. Of H-Fish and Ice Spear is like pretty good at checking a lot of people to see if they understand how to get through Dizzy zoning properly. I have noticed a lot of H-Fish into bubbles. And like that's alright. But I think you kind of have like I usually see more D-Fish into bubbles than like H-Fish into bubble. They tend to like complement each other better. God damn, that's a lot of damage. And defense. We'll have to double check it, but I'm almost positive. Bandit Bringer just loses to Dizzy 2S. Like I mean that. Like it's pretty messed up, but there's a reason I never see that move used versus Dizzy as Soul. I'm almost positive it's because 2S just beats it. And if it clashes, you just press 2S again and you'll win the next interaction. Back away. I like that. We'll talk about something cheeky. I'll give you something cheeky to try. It's pretty good versus people. It's pretty annoying. There's something that I don't see you do too much. It's interesting because it's less about holding your ground and it's more like Dizzy has ways to scare people into being a little bit more patient. And that patience is what lets you get more things on screen more reliably. There's a pretty big one that's like I haven't seen as much of in the couple games so far. Let me see. Your experience is getting owned for it because you press it late. Yeah, I think the big thing about 2S is just realizing like it is one of those things where you kind of keep it like in your back pocket, not worry about it too much. About. Well, this could have been a way scarier combo, thank God. We'll finish watching this one, and we'll watch, like, one more. I think we have time for, like, one more. Yeah, you gotta be careful. Bursting the initial JD. No, we'll just say it was, like, 5 minutes. I think that was, like, 5 minutes. Fuck it. Actually, I'm a fool. We have an actual, like... Well, how long has it been? It's been 7 minutes, so 28 minutes. Because we started on time for this, so... But yeah, we still have time. We'll watch, like, one more. I want to go back to that burst bait moment. Yeah, you can burst the rising JD that he does, like, after you see it happen. That's, like, a pretty common burst point for Soul that's kind of obnoxious to bait. It's, like, kind of hard to actually bait it and get a combo, in all honesty. A lot of times it feels like you got to hard bait that shit as Soul. Alright, we went too far because I don't remember seeing a danger time. Wherever your burst was. Around here, I think? Ah, whatever. Good enough. We'll figure it out. I like that. This is a good option to have in your repertoire as Dizzy. Especially in a matchup like this where they're really grounded. TK Ice Bubble Air Dash Back JS is really good. What I was gonna say is you need to take more initiative here and set. Like, the thing about an option like this, I'll talk about it here, not like in training mode, because we like really see it in effect right now, is as this is exploding, you just set. Like, you don't do anything. You use that time to help you set. The vertical hitbox on that thing is pretty brawlic, and it's very unlikely somebody will get over it and actually hit you trying to summon, because they have to wait for that explosion. That it's almost like a sequence. You don't necessarily wait and react to what's happening. You probably, like, you just kind of do this, air dash back, pop it, and already land into a summon. Usually like H-Fish, right? But you really want to make sure, like, don't waste this time, and now you do the summon. See, there is a difference between that, because it takes time to get your summon out. So you want to do your summon right now. You don't want to do it now. You want to do it like a second before, you know? Because that's the whole purpose of retreating bubbles like that, is they create a wall for you that enables you to summon for free, usually. You want to be more preemptive on that spot and realize, like, that's what that tool is for with Dizzy. That's a good 2D. Yeah. It makes sense because, like, Dizzy's a fragile character, and if you're not... And it takes time to get summons out, so if you're not comfortable with it, then it makes sense not wanting to rip it immediately. Also, we'll talk about this. One of the better options Dizzy has in the corner is just super jumping. But we'll talk about, like, why it's good and how it kind of, like, enables her a lot. But specifically super jumping. If you do this as Dizzy, it's a lot worse. It doesn't seem like it, but this is a lot worse than just super jumping in a similar situation. That's a good fix. This is a good habit to have in general. But we're going to talk about how you do it off super jump. And just super jump. Not a regular jump. You summon out. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one setup too. In neutral. Nice. Ooh, nice pickup. It's easy to not hit those timings on the links with the fish. Yeah, I was gonna say, anytime somebody's dogging you like that and just like always in your face, that's what ice spike's for. Is there a reason to mix up regular jump and super jump, or should you just mainly super? There's no real reason to the regular jump, I'm gonna be honest. Super jump does the same thing for Dizzy, but better. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a reason, but I can't think of a reason. This is one of the reasons why super jump is better. Like this situation, my bad. I was trying to go back like a couple seconds. The fact that you build, so like at this altitude up here, it's hard to chase these down without committing because you're so high up. When you air dash on the way down, you just passively end up farther because you travel for longer. Like you drift for longer in the air and you end up farther from people. Not to mention she has 2 of them, so yeah. A super jump is pretty much always better from what I can tell. And like I said, we'll talk about it. There's a couple things I already have written down. I just want to finish, like, we'll kind of like speed run through this last one, I guess. Just look at some stuff. Nice bubble pop. Wave 2S. Oh, this is the one we're on. This is what I was saying, where it's like you can burst the JD as it happens there. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, there's another one you're not. There's definitely a button you are not giving enough love to. It's happened like a couple times now. This is tough. This is tough as Dizzy. You gotta build distance there very fast. Either via air dash back ice spike or air dash back bubble, air dash back pop bubble is like another one. But I got a couple things written down, so we'll talk about them. It's really funny the first time 2S, but there's another very obvious button here. We'll talk about. I notepadded all that shit, so we can talk about a couple. I was gonna say 2S is one. What's up, Graffiti? But you don't really 6P much. Dizzy has a really, really good 6P. Even versus Soul, it's still a good 6P. There are some trajectories when people jump into you where you can just 6P them as Dizzy. Like, there's not too much they can do about it. Right, so like, if you're hanging out here, yeah, grounded 6P is good. There were a lot of situations, or not a lot, there were a couple situations where James was kind of like doing something like this to you when you were walking around, and like 6Ps like this are free. Like Dizzy 6P will probably almost never lose on this jump in. Like, it's so rare that a Dizzy 6P at this angle would like ever lose. But even more vertical angles, like if he's doing something like this and ending up on you, 6Ps will still win a lot of the times. See? Even versus like stuff like Soul, it's like this shit still wins, which is really impressive, by the way. A lot of 6Ps clash with this hit like that, but Dizzy 6P like tends to just win. But no, have some more faith in 6P. Like, watch the angles people come at you at, like usually from like over here, or like if they're like kind of high up, like let's say they hit something like this and they're gonna try to get over and get on you. All the ones where it's kind of obvious they're gonna land into you a little bit in front of you, not right on top of you, press 6P. The only real distinction I would say between these two buttons in my head in terms of anti-airing is if somebody will end up right on top of you, most likely, then you can press this button. And when I say right on top of you, I mean right on top of you. Like if there's a weird, like he tried to jump out of something and he did this for whatever reason, like this is a press 2S angle. Like if he's just like up here and he panics and he tries to do something like this, you just like mash 2S. And you mash it, by the way, in this matchup. So that you never have to lose that interaction there. You just press 2S every time. Let me get rid of danger time. Damn, that's a good trade for Dizzy. Yeah, you just press it again. You press it again or press a different button. Yeah, 2S destroys IAD resets. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is use your 6P more. You can use it on the ground too, like people were saying. It's a pretty good counter poke. Like this. I guess Soul Far Slash is a bad example. Let me try 5H. 5H might be a little better. Yeah, it's a pretty good counter poke for stuff. Like you can see how early I can press it and like counter poke his button because this doesn't hit at this distance. See? But it does counter poke at this distance. See? No, yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying to use it on the ground. That's totally fine. I meant like, just remember it's a good anti-air. Use it if it feels like they're not gonna end up right above you, or you press 2S. Press 6P instead. And 6P is pretty chill because you can usually buffer like a close slash after it, like an S input, and you'll see what happens. Like sometimes people get hit so low to the ground, like you'll still get something pretty easy to convert, like boom, 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 ice spike. Right. Or boom, 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 boom. Right. It depends on what you want to do. I think if you hit, yeah, if you press your 6Ps late enough, you'll still get ground hits, which is pretty cheap, like this. But definitely use your 6P more as an anti-air. Like just in general, like when you see people jumping at you, just send it. Be like, you know what, fuck it, this is a good anti-air. Let me try it. When people are really like on top of you and don't want to leave you alone, keep that in mind. Or when people jump over your summons, keep that in mind. One of the other things I was going to say is you do use Firefish, but you never do this. This is a really common dizzy sequence. Let's say I do like TK is Ice Bubble is P, I think. Say I do like TK Ice Bubble, right? Like a beefier, like higher up one. Let me do like a higher up one like that, right? Say I do like a higher up TK Bubble and pop it like that, right? A sequence like this would be, you would pop your bubble, you would do this, you would do that, and then pretty much like as fast as it'll let you do it. Also, you're just sitting on the ground focusing on anti-airing will probably make that set in your favor. I think anti-airing would have helped you a lot in a lot of spots in that set, because James got a lot of openings off of air hits over ground hits most of the time. Yeah, 4S is good. 4S is good when people tech into you. If somebody's going to do a tech buttons into you and you don't really have a lot of faith in 6P because sometimes they might be too low, 4S trades really well. Like, really well. It trades very well. It's very hard to get around. But what I was saying is if you do something like Tiger Knee P Bubble, right? Like, Tiger Knee P Bubble, pop it. Do this zoning pattern. The zoning pattern is kind of obnoxious. I was just talking about it earlier. When you're summoning H-Fish, or even S-Fish, but usually H-Fish is like a more likely one, summon your Ice Spear right after it. I didn't really see you do this almost ever. It's a really solid option. Like, you want to think of these two summons like in tandem a lot, most of the time, right? Similarly, you want to think of situations like, let's say you always pop bubble, but they're always like kind of close and you're worried about them doing something. Then you can do something like bubble into, you do bubble pop. Oh my god, I hate doing the high Tiger Knee input for this. You do bubble pop, air dash back, D-Fish, and you wait like that. D-Fish is also really good. The thing about D-Fish I've noticed, the way that Ray tends to use it is he uses D-Fish for space, or not space, but like protection, obviously. So he'll do something like this, he'll do this, and if you didn't do anything, he's gonna Tiger Knee bubble again a lot of the times. Like he'll move a little forward and he'll do like fire bubble instead of ice bubble, and he'll pop it, he'll retreat, and then he'll set his zoning up, right? A lot of the times he uses D-Fish as an easy way to be like, I'm scared, I don't want to do anything, and then when you respect it, he starts summoning again like that, right? And he times it around the time D-Fish tends to die, so it doesn't mess up his zoning. Rising JS after the ice. Spear can jail. Air to air and a fish. It depends on the timing. Like I said, it depends on how you time it, right? Because you can do them. You can also do them in reverse order, but it's usually not common. It's usually not as good. It's almost always this, like that, right? I did not see that. I mean it. Like, especially because you're already very comfortable doing this. Build that pattern. Do ice fish pop into this. And the downside to this zoning pattern is it takes a bit to set up, and there are ways around it. Like, when people know the matchup, they shouldn't just get jailed by that shit all the time, but a lot of people do. The DP input. But you get the idea. This is very strong. It really forces the opponent to understand like how to get around it. You get punished while overusing that a while ago. Yeah, I would say if you're getting punished a lot, rotate to defish and wait like that. Because like I said, the explosion helps cover a lot of time for you. And also, when people are really starting to run at you, use buttons like // and 6P and stuff. Dizzy has buttons to stand her ground if people are being disrespectful. It's a lot of just getting an idea of if they give you that time to set stuff up or not. But I didn't see a lot of defish in general, especially after retreating Ice Bubble. It's pretty solid. You should consider it. I already said to use 2S on defense. I know for a fact that you can bring her. Honestly, // is good. // is a pretty good button. A lot of people don't realize that Dizzy // hits people IAD. Like a lot of the characters in the game get hit instant air dashing. Like if he does something like this, for example, and you press // the moment it's happening, like this will trade or hit him a lot of the times, like that too. But the idea is like this is a button that covers the air and the ground a lot of the times. Don't be too scared to use it to control space, because even if he tries to jump, it's not gonna work a lot of the times. That's what makes that button unreasonable in my opinion. I already talked about what to do after ice bubbles. I already talked about 6P neutral. We'll talk about super jumping out of the corner. We'll talk about super jumping, and then we'll talk about a small trick I think is nice that I never saw you use, but I think is very good with Dizzy. I was gonna say, if somebody's applying pressure to you as Dizzy, obviously there's some things to consider, right? So like if somebody's getting greedy all the time like this because they know you just want to super jump, don't be afraid to press the Dizzy 2P. Dizzy 2P is good to bar it. It's just scary to press until you build like a little bit of respect. But that shit is a 6 frame normal, man. Like it's really fast for how big it is. It's not good up close compared to like a better, faster normal, sure, but like if somebody is very telegraphed on their redashing, you can get a knockdown almost always, and it's like immediately a problem for them. So people get greedy, don't be afraid to check with 2P. It is usable. It is very usable. It kills redashes really well, and once people are like, well, I'm not gonna do redashes, then you do stuff like this, right? The reason that super jumping out with Dizzy is better is because it gives you the altitude of 2 jumps. Look at this is 2 jumps from Dizzy, and if you look at, she's like hanging out where the trees are basically on the stage, right? She's like up in the branches on 2 jumps. If you super jump, she is like basically the same height. She is very slightly lower than if you do 2 separate jumps, right? But the distinction is that up here I have both of my air actions, right? There is essentially no character in the game that can confidently like stop this if they did not plan to already. So I'll show you. Let's say this guy is going ham and he always does really greedy redashes on 2S. If you do this, he will not catch you. He will not catch you, I guarantee it. Like there's no way he's fast enough. Nobody's that fast in the game. The tricky part is that this is a very preemptive action on my part. Like I know he's redashing. I am going to commit to a super jump and then 2 air dashes out. And I'm out. Like I'm out. There's nothing that Soul can even do about it. Right? And it will get people to slow down on their offense. It will get them to do things that let you 2P or Ice Spike out of block, right? Ice Spike is a really notable tool that she has out of block. But it's a lot about learning how to escape when they give you like fake stuff to escape on, and then when they do real things that kind of push themselves out, you can do things like Ice Spike YRC to check them. Right? But yeah, the reason I was saying it's good is that it doesn't use your secondary air action, right? Super jumping preserves your secondary air action, so you can even do stuff like super jump, air dash back. You're like, this didn't work out. Let me do what is fire bubbles on K. You do fire bubble, pop it. Right? You can do air dash back, fire bubble. Like, a lot of the times, if somebody starts to box you into the corner by giving up space, like let's say Soul puts himself here versus you. First of all, this isn't that great because he's about a step away from... I don't think Ice Spike hits here, but it hits a step forward like this. So that's not that great anyway for him. The more he tries to, like, give you space... I guess, here. A better, clearer way to explain this is... the things that tend to be better at helping people at covering something like this Hits when he's trying to rebuy Gunflame after 6H. That makes sense. So what I'm trying to get at is like, if you're holding space like this as a character like Soul, options like this aren't as strong because if you notice, she's landing on me, right? She kind of has to use her secondary air action, which she can. That's a big part of what makes Dizzy way better at doing this than other characters. But if you notice, it's still not a great position, right? Like, I'm still maybe air throwable here. That doesn't feel great. But if you notice, a lot of the times the downside to holding that spacing versus Dizzy and waiting and seeing if she super jumps, because you can't really react to it until she does it, is that you can rip one of these and start fighting back immediately. The space that tends to counter super jump escapes really well is the space that tends to struggle versus Ice Spike YRC at a block. That is just generally true. That both of those things work in tandem pretty well with Dizzy. It's why it's kind of hard to find a nice spacing versus her, because if you hang out too close, like here, she can press like buttons like 2P and they reach you, right? So it's like it's very tricky to hold space versus Dizzy, because if you stay too close, super jumping out becomes impossible to stop if you didn't catch it immediately, right? But if you stay like here, where you're still kind of far and maybe you catch super jump, buttons like 2P can hit you now. And now she can do like 2P. It doesn't combo, but it does sort of block string 2P, 2D. To give up immediate pressure if they want to punish a jump out. Pretty much, yeah. And immediate pressure, if they give it up, tends to lose to stuff like this. Does Dizzy Ice Spike YRC do the extended hurtbox thing? No, I wish it did. It does not. It has like virtually no extended hurtbox. Believe me, compared to Answer, it doesn't have it. But that's a discussion for a different time. But yeah, does that make sense? Like, super jumping out enables you to use both of your actions, usually air dashing twice to get out. But it also means you can do things like set. It means you can do things like air dash out, like right up before you touch the ground, you can set and then press H with fire bubble. Really bad at timing this. Yeah, like that, see? Yeah, Answer has a pretty notable extended hurtbox. Yeah, mixing up your landings. A really easy way to do it, yeah, I was gonna say is like, just go watch Ray, and every time he super jumps, look at what he's doing off of the super jump. It's all pretty replicable. Like, it's easier than you think. This button is also criminally good in the corner, by the way. Like, even if somebody is boxing you in and you do this button is unreasonably good to land with. Like, if you're kind of stuck in the corner still and they don't want to commit to like really anti-airing you, you can do like super jump back, air dash, and then land right at the last second with JH. JH is also very good here. Is something I would recommend. It owns space in a way that is very brutal for the opponent. One of the things that makes JH notably overtuned is that it hits people crouching. So like, you can do this and it still forces him to stand, right? Like, that's why JH is as good as it is, in my opinion. I don't think her jump heavy would be as annoying if you could just crouch it more consistently. But the fact that like, even this hit forces an opponent to stand up is a big deal. Not a lot of characters can do that. Into a knockdown, by the way. Like, it reminds you of Millia JH. Millia JH is probably better in different ways. It's not even a certain range thing. I'm gonna be real. I've never seen this knock combo into 2D. As long as the frame advantage permits it, like, I have never seen this move knock combo into 2D. I'm gonna be real. I've never seen like a spacing moment, but I'm sure it exists. Like from here, maybe. No. I refuse to believe this doesn't combo into 2D ever. It's just like a spacing thing. If you catch an extended hurt box, I could see it. That makes sense. If you catch an extended hurt box, it wouldn't. But like a vanilla hit, I've never seen it not combo. Anyway. Too much of a tangent. Does that make sense? This is why preserving your jump is your two options is nice, because you can even air dash back, air dash forward. Like, you can mix up how you do things, right? And then anytime you're landing, if you need a good button to punish people running in, it's JH. You press jump H right before you touch the ground like this, and it's super good. It's super hard to deal with. Go watch all the things that Raid kind of rotates off of his super jumps and just try to replicate them. See what things they seem like they beat and try to do that in your game plan. But yes, always super jump. It's basically never worth regular jumping as Dizzy. It doesn't really give her anything. Super jump out of the corner more. Once people are better at dealing with it, keep Ice Spike YRC in mind, and it'll help you out. The last thing I'll talk about that I didn't really cover too much of was you don't really do this, and I think it's a very strong option with Dizzy. If you do something like this option is very good. So like, let's say you're running pressure and you're fighting somebody that knows that you like to do this into summon, right? That's a really common, reasonable thing for Dizzy to want, right? You do retreat, summon, and then you want to engage again, right? That's a really common thing, right? Like I told you just about that zoning pattern like 2 seconds ago, right? So let's say I want to disengage, right? So I do air dash back JS into firefish into jump forward, right? This is a really like easy thing to try to force as Dizzy, right? And then you kind of like chill, and then the firefish hits, right? She kind of has this like rhythm to her where like she can back up, put something on screen, and then represent it like that. But what I was gonna say is there's a really important option that you want to consider, because people will start to realize this guy always does air dash back summon. I'm gonna run at him. You start to do this. This option is unreasonably good. If you do like a block string and it goes into far slash, you do air dash back, air dash forward, jump kick. And that option is ridiculous. You do this. That option is overtuned. That option is unbalanced. And I say that like very firmly. Like this is unreasonable how good it is. What it does for her here is very strong, right? Because if this dude is set to this is great for people chasing deep. Yeah, it's good for a lot of stuff. The idea is like even if they just don't react, like let's pretend this person just didn't react at all, right? Like, let's pretend you're doing your offense and you're like, I'm going to do this into this. And, like, they don't react. As long as you time it correctly, you still get a block string. See? So, like, nothing really changes for you. It's not like you get punished because if they commit to crouching here, you would go under it. The fact that jump kick hits crouch is a big deal there. Right? Let me see. Let me not enable block switching. So now, like, if they're just asleep at the wheel and you do this, you just get a knockdown, right? And you can do it off of a lot of hits, technically, I think, if you time it differently. But I would always recommend doing it off of far slash, is like the button I see every time. And you still get a knockdown because you're Dizzy, right? But yeah, far slash into like Ice Spike Wire C is a classic. You just delay the cancel. You delay the cancel and you Roman cancel immediately, and that's how you get the far slash one. If you do it immediately, you're always going to get a red Roman cancel like this. So you delay it slightly and then you YRC and then you get it, right? That's why the cancel window is so big on that move. You can do that. You can do, if you really think that they're asleep at the wheel, you can do bubble, pop, bubble, continue offense. But what I was saying is, like, this option is just good, honestly. Retreating into summon or retreating into my offense with jump kick on air dash is very good for Dizzy. You should use it some more. The way I would put it is, like, you should, if you feel uncomfortable doing your offense, right? Like, if you don't feel comfortable doing your offense, like, maybe you don't want to strike throw versus Soul because, well, Soul has a DP, you know. I don't want to get DP'd. Like, DP will beat the grab and it'll beat whatever. So, like, maybe you don't want to do tick throws all the time, and that's fine. That's like totally reasonable. But it's a lot about, like, well, what do I do when I'm uncomfortable? I can't do this all the time. It costs me 25 bar. I can't do that all the time. I need to have a better game plan than that, right? So I would say, like, especially in a matchup like this, or anyone that's not like Milia or Chip, like just insanely fast, no matter where you are on screen, I would say versus characters with limited movement, do far slash, air dash back, jump S, land, and put some summons out. Summons will let you take initiative again aggressively, right? Get a summon out, jump with it like that, and this is a really oppressive situation for people. Because a lot of the times, as long as you time it, you can do the Rising JS that Foot was talking about, right? So you can do something like, let me do my block string, right? Push myself out. You do the jump S so that if people air dash at you, it doesn't usually like beat retreating air dash jump S. So you want to stick that hitbox out as you retreat. Then you do summon. You do an air to air like that, just in case they try to jump into you and not back. And then you just kind of land into them, right? If he jumps back, he'll avoid the laser, but he gives up a ton of screen positioning. If he jumps neutral, you have buttons like 6P and 2S and 4S to deal with, right? But do you get what I mean? Like, Dizzy gets a lot of value off of retreating to a distance that's, if you notice, we're not actually full screen, and that's actually better for Dizzy here, because it means that she plays off of her summons better. She's closer to the opponent when they proc, so she gets to do more things. But the downside is when you're summoning at this distance, it's not as safe as summoning at this distance, right? There's a difference between the two for her. And that's why little tricks like this are nice, because you're summoning closer to them, and that's why it's so strong. That's why you get to do certain quick mix-ups like that. And all you really need is like an option like this every now and then to convince them to not always chase you down, right? You can also do things like air dash back, bubble at the end here. So you can do air dash back, bubble, pop the bubble, and then you change your zoning pattern, right? You set your zoning pattern up. Dizzy controls a lot of the pace of the match in a lot of matchups. Not all of them. Something like Chip and Milia control the pace for her, and she has to play at their pace and adapt. But versus a character like Soul, Dizzy sets a lot of the pace in neutral, because she can retreat and force him to approach, or she can start setting greedier summons up closer. Right? But yeah, a lot of stuff to process. Usually the first time anybody shows up for VOD review, they get like a lot of input, because it's like I'm giving you advice for the first time, and then when you come back, a lot of the times it's like I'm not gonna repeat the same advice, so you won't get as much like in later ones or anything. But just to like reiterate, it's like defensively you'll come back to the VOD. I post them on the @Bikin or the Hype for Sliced Bread YouTube. I didn't post last week's, but on God, for real, I'll upload last VOD review, and I'll upload this one later tonight. I put them on YouTube because ad block is a lot better on YouTube. So it's pretty easy to go back and watch on YouTube compared to on Twitch. Twitch gives you ads like every 20 seconds. But I'll put it on the YouTube if you want to go back and watch it. But just to reiterate, because I didn't reiterate, right? Super Jump is a good defensive option. Use it more and pay attention to what good Dizzy players do off of their Super Jump. When people start spacing for Super Jump, you're going to have the respect you need to get things like Ice Spike YRC out. Have some more faith in anti-air 6P. It's very good. She can stand her own ground with her normals if she's confident in how she uses them. Same with 2S. 2S is obviously a great button if they give you it for free off Instant Air Dash or Bandit Bringer or whatever. Off of bubbles that you're setting in neutral to retreat, don't be passive. Set immediately. Set immediately and take initiative on that. And then use a little bit more D-Fish. I didn't see that much D-Fish. D-Fish is also very good at, if you're doing a bubble like this and you don't feel comfortable in the space it's going to give you, do a D-Fish, hide behind your D-Fish a little bit, and right as D-Fish is ending, start setting more bubbles. Set a fire bubble, pop it, and then start setting your zoning all over again. That's what D-Fish is for. It's for breathing room. It gives you a little bit of time to assess the situation, and then as it's dying, behind D-Fish where you're safe, you start doing bubbles again. You do bubble, and then ideally you try to time as D-Fish dies, you put another fish out, but you can do Ice Spear or Fire Spear is also pretty good, I've seen. Right? And then do, like I said, do more retreating air dash into summons so that you can get initiative off of it. And just remember to check people with this this air dash back. I think it's a little bit delayed. It's like, it's not immediate, it's like a little bit delayed. It's like air dash back and then it's air dash forward like that. But yeah, hopefully that gives you some more stuff to try. I think she works. I think she kind of gives Soul the business, honestly, if you know the matchup. It seems kind of tough for Soul to like really get stuff done versus Dizzy. When she kind of walls them out effectively, understands how to position herself to be hard to anti-air. If she was easier to anti-air, I think maybe Soul would have an easier time. Immediate air dash forward is mainly for standing opponents doing stuff. Yeah, I mean, the thing is you can just kind of do the delayed one as long as they don't actively punish it. It's about the same, if not better, to just do it. It's very rare somebody would punish you, because you have to realize escaping Dizzy stuff by, let's say, like jumping above it or like going above her is never good. It's never good to land on top of Dizzy. So even if you did a delayed air dash and let's say they did like hold up in place and they end up right above you when you air dash back in, that's not that bad. It just depends. But yeah. Hopefully that gives you some stuff to try. Let me see. I'll cut the VOD here. I'm probably just gonna play some other video games. I was in the mood to play Exert, but I played a lot of Exert yesterday and the day before, so probably not. But I'm gonna cut the VOD here, so I don't have to edit it. It'll be on YouTube later tonight. I will put it on YouTube later tonight. I usually timestamp it, so if you look at the description, it'll have it. But yeah, just to reiterate, I guess for anybody lurking or watching, I post bi-weekly VOD reviews, like forms. This is what the form looks like. I post them usually on Monday, on my, like every 2 weeks, if I'm not busy that weekend, on my bluesky. So you'll just see it under like @BikenPlayer, like that. I post them on bluesky. They're open to everybody. It prioritizes new people. It's all in the description. It's all self-explanatory. But pretty much every 2 weeks or so, I try to rotate Saturdays and Sundays, so that if there's any random schedule conflicts, it kind of comes up. But yeah, keep an eye out, basically. They always happen. I don't charge people money, because that's kind of weird. So, open to everybody, but this was good. Like I said, I'm going to cut it here. I will catch you guys at the next VOD review. Let me cut my stream.